It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah. D-U-E-U.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today we're going to talk about and preview the New York Jets in the 2020 NFL season. But before we get started, let's take a look at some of the key storylines for the Jets heading into the preseason as we go into our 4-minute offense. Sam Darnold is entering year 3 of his NFL career and just turned 23 years old, so the former first-round pick hasn't really begun to enter his prime yet, but many still believe that this is a pivotal year for the former USC Trojan. One of the major reasons why has been his inability to stay healthy so far in his short career. Now, granted, last year's mononucleosis case was something that you don't expect someone getting, but nonetheless, time was missed out there on the field. So, entering 2020, Darnold has to show the organization that he can be available for a full 16-game season. That's the first thing. The second would be him showing continued growth within his game. And I believe we started to see that at times last year. It will be important for him to show that on a more consistent basis. A great example of that would be his play against the Dallas Cowboys as well as the Oakland Raiders. The Jets believe that this season he's primed for a breakout year. This may also be a pivotal season for head coach Adam Gase as well. He was brought in to be the perfect guy to work with quarterback Sam Darnold and to help get this offense heading in the right direction. Well, that clearly wasn't the case last season, as the offense was dead last in total offense in the NFL and seemed as if it lacked any true identity or direction. Now, to be completely fair to Coach Gase, he dealt with injuries along the offensive line, a quarterback that missed a crucial part of the season with mono, and a run game that was very anemic, to put it lightly. In fact, when you think about it, the fact that despite of all of this stuff that was going on, they finished 7-9 could point to the overall coaching job that Gase did, keeping this thing from falling completely off the rails. And while he does get some roster improvements and a clean bill of health for a lot of key players, and the second year that he's going to be in charge, he's now got to navigate through, as does every NFL head coach this season, with the unknown world of COVID-19. Right or wrong, he has to have his team show marked improvement over last season. I think many would be willing to give a few of the headline free agent signings from last season a mulligan for what they did out there on the field. The Jets made a splash signing both with Le'Veon Bell, the running back from Pittsburgh, and linebacker C.J. Mosley, who came over from Baltimore, as both were expected to be leaders on their respective sides of the ball. Now, things didn't quite go as planned last season for the excellent duo. Bell, who was coming off of a year layoff because of a contract dispute with the Pittsburgh Steelers, never really looked like his former self, which torpedoed the run game. And Mosley had a splash debut against the Buffalo Bills, scoring a touchdown on a pick six before being lost for the rest of the season after the second game due to a growing injury. Now, having both players back healthy and ready to go should yield better results for Gang Green. One of the sore spots of the 2019 Jets season was the inconsistent play of the offensive line. They dealt with poor play, injuries, constant reshuffling of the lineup, you name it, they dealt with it. Now, they enter the season hoping to get better play from a rookie in Mekhi Becton out of Louisville and free agent signing Connor McGovern from Denver, in addition to a healthy Brian Winters. The Jets' ability to strengthen their offensive front could be just what the run game and Sam Darnold needs to thrive in 2020. We spoke earlier about Sam Darnold and how pivotal this season is for him. Where you like to see improvement is in his decision-making and accuracy. Darnold still puts the ball in harm's way far too often, which is why his interception numbers are as consistent as they are. Now, his overall accuracy is okay, but it's the deep ball accuracy in the short to intermediate placement that is more of the issue. Being more consistent in that area of his game requires him to get a good handle on his lower body mechanics, which can get a bit funky under duress. One would expect that that has been a focal point for his game this offseason. The Jets also want to strengthen the QB2 spot on the roster in case of another unfortunate Darnold injury. They went out and signed Joe Flacco. The former Super Bowl champion is coming off of his own injury that may not have him ready for training camp, but when he does return to full health, he gives them a stable option in case something happens to Darnold. In the draft, they also selected James Morgan from Florida International, the strong arm passer who has some elements in this game that is very similar to Joe Flacco, figures to hold down that third spot on the depth chart. I'm sure Le'Veon Bell can't wait to hit the field this season to prove that last year was more of an aberration and not a sign of things to come. What was more impressive about Bell's game last year was, despite the team's lack of success and his own on-field struggles, he was still the positive, motivating voice out there on the field and in the media, emerging as team's leader. Expect to see a better version of Bell this season. New York also signed future Hall of Famer Frank Gore, who is the ageless wonder at the position. He figures to serve well in a complementary role, as he showed last year with the Buffalo Bills, where he ran for nearly 600 yards. He gives them insurance in case talented rookie LaMichael Pirine out of Florida, who was taken in the 4th round, isn't able to get up to speed because of the whole lack of a minicamp, OTAs, and things of that nature because of COVID-19. But Pirine is coming off of a solid end to his Gators career and a strong week of work at the Reese's Senior Bowl. The Jets also have Josh Adams and the speedster Trenton Cannon that are also in the mix. Cannon is one of their core special teamers and returnmen. Jamison Crowder proved to be just what the doctor ordered for the Jets passing game last year. Crowder led Gang Green in all receiving categories except yards per catch. He and Robbie Anderson formed a solid passing combination last season. Anderson has gone off to the Carolina Panthers, and Crowder is looking to be the first Jets receiver to go over 1,000 yards since Brandon Marshall did it in 2015. Now, it'll be a revamped receiving core around Crowder, as Quincy Enunwa may or may not play after recovering from neck surgery. That's why the Jets went out and signed Rashard Perriman in free agency to hold down one of those receiver spots, but their major splash was in the draft with the selection of Denzel Mims out of Baylor. And what I like most about Mims' game is his ability to attack the football. I've said numerous times that he reminds me a lot of Dez Bryant in that regard, and figures to be a solid contributor in his rookie season. Another free agent signee was Josh Doctson, formerly of the Washington Redskins. He was a very good talent coming out of TCU, but hasn't been able to stay healthy much during his NFL career. Now he's hoping to buck that trend with the New York Jets. And I would keep an eye out for second-year player Jeff Smith to make a charge up the depth chart. He was impressive throughout training camp and the preseason last year, making the practice squad as an undrafted rookie free agent and eventually getting a call-up late last season. He's got the speed and ball-tracking ability to be considered a deep threat. The tight end position seems to be in a much more stable spot with Chris Herndon and Ryan Griffin. Herndon was suspended for an early part of the season. Then when he came back, he got injured, but he proved in 2018 that he was an emerging option in the passing game. So did Griffin, who showed that last season in Herndon's absence. Now, where he also excels is in the blocking department, giving the Jets solid options at tight end. And H-back Trayvon Wesco out of West Virginia is utilized more as a blocker, but he figures to see his role expand as a receiver this upcoming season. Up front along the offensive line is where the Jets put in a lot of work this offseason. They drafted tackle Mekhi Becton out of Louisville and guard Cameron Clark out of Charlotte. They also signed George Fant, Connor McGovern, and Greg Van Roten in an attempt to reshape their offensive line. You figure Becton, Fant, and McGovern are slated as starters, while Van Roten will provide depth at one of those tackle spots. Teaming those guys up with a healthy Brian Winters and Alex Lewis should give Gang Green what the Buffalo Bills had last season when they revamped their entire offensive line in a very similar way. What could go a long way in further strengthening their unit is if second-year player Chuma Doga out of USC can make a significant jump in his play this season along with veteran Jonathan Harrison. Now, on paper, it looks like they've improved this group, but we'll have to see how quickly they can gel together and form a cohesive unit. When looking at the Jets' defensive line, you have veterans Henry Anderson and nose tackle Steve McClendon. They provide some stability up front amongst the depth chart that's full of young players. Now, the hope for the Jets is that this season is the year where that youth starts to pay dividends. Former first-round pick Quentin Williams started to slowly figure things out as he went along as a rookie last season. Now, Williams is expected to be that pass-rusher pocket disruptor that they envision him being coming out of Alabama. Rookie third-round pick Jabari Zuniga out of Florida was selected because of his ability to rush the passer and also shows enough versatility to kick down inside if need be. Having Zuniga display that pass rushing ability with the expected growth from Williams in the same area, could be exactly what the Jets need to improve on a sack total which had them ranked 23rd in the NFL. That collection of young talent like Folo Fedakowski, Kyle Phillips, Jordan Willis, and Nathan Shepard will be counted on to make more of an impact this season, which would significantly strengthen both the depth and the rotation as a whole. Health is the biggest key for the Jets linebacking core, which in turn gives you a ton of optimism about this group. Inside linebacker CJ Mosley, Avery Williamson, and Blake Cashman all returned from injuries. Mosley and Williamson are your starters, but Cashman throughout the preseason and the games that he played in the regular season proved his ability in pass coverage, and he figures to see a lot of time as a sub backer. Now, the Jets also signed Patrick Onwuso from the Baltimore Ravens. He was a very good acquisition as he's an up-and-coming player who flashed while with the Ravens. He could also play on the outside if need be. Patrick Burgess provides strong depth at both inside linebacker spot. Now, on the outside, Jordan Jenkins led the team in sacks last year with 8. The hope is that with an improved defensive front, he should be able to crack those double digits. I like the game of Terrell Basham. It just seems like every time he's out there on the field, he's productive. He's got the length and athleticism that you look for. He's always disruptive in the passing game, and he should be in line for that other outside backer spot. Now, he'll have to contend with Harvey Lange amongst others for that spot, but it should be interesting to watch play out during camp. Keep an eye out for Ahmad Gooden, who comes over from the Denver Broncos. He was a sack master at Sanford and hopes to compete for an even bigger role with the New York Jets. If the Jets had to play a game today, my guess for the starting corners would be free agent signee Pierre Desir, Brian Poole, and second-year player Bless Austin. Desir was solid last year for the Colts, and the Jets envision him being their number one corner. Poole is an excellent slot corner in my opinion because he's not afraid to run up there and run support and lay a pop on a ball carrier. Plus, he's got solid spatial awareness as well. And I'm excited about the progress of Bless Austin and what he did last year, recovering from an injury during the end of his career at Rutgers and throughout the draft process. When he finally got on the field, you saw the talent and ability, and the team figures to let him continue to grow into that role. Everywhere else, it will be a battle, which is a good problem to have. You got veterans Nate Harrison and Arthur Millette. They'll have to fend off rookie 5th-round pick Bryce Hall, who could be this year's Bless Austin out of Virginia, and undrafted free agents Lamar Jackson and Javelin Guidry. Very talented corners that they were able to bring in as UDFAs. And the team traded for Colts corner Quincy Wilson, who was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2017 draft, but never really blossomed with the Colts. You have to factor him to the mix as well. Things are in a much more stable state at safety with Jamal Adams and Marcus May. Perhaps not for long with Adams, as he's been very vocal about wanting to be traded, but as of today, he and May form a very good duo. I do like the addition of rookie Ashton Davis out of Cal. He's a speedster that provides the great range on the back end, which could help defensive coordinator Greg Williams become a bit more creative on the back end. Expect to see a lot of Davis as a rookie. Mekhi Becton is my offensive rookie impact player for the Jets this upcoming season. They drafted him high in the draft, and they expect him to get out there and play. He should be a starter from day one, and what we saw on tape at Louisville, if that is of any indication, he should hit the ground running for Gang Green. Defensively, I look at defensive end Jabari Zuniga out of Florida. They expect him to be a pass rusher. Playing him on a defensive line, I do think because of his versatility, he's shown the ability to kick down inside, maybe as also a stand-up rusher. So him being able to hit the ground running as a rookie and providing that pass rush could go a long way in improving his defense. I believe many will be surprised at how good of a prospect Cameron Clark was coming out of Charlotte. I think he has an outside chance to push for a starting role along that offensive line. If not this year, then definitely next year. And defensively, cornerback Lamar Jackson, to me, just fits the mold of what Greg Williams likes in his corners. He's physical, he's brash, he's aggressive, he's not afraid to make mistakes, which means he also has that short memory. So I think he has an opportunity to really push himself up the depth chart this training camp. I think when you look at X factors, you have to look at the 2019 free agent class. And talking about Le'Veon Bell at running back, he was coming off of a year where he set out the entire 2018 season. Getting back into football shape was all of 2019. That's why I think this year you expect to see the best of Le'Veon Bell. And the same can be said for CJ Mosley. His was due to an injury, so I think now at full strength, he should take his place atop the leadership position on the defensive side of the football and continue to make those impactful plays. I look to Chuma Edoga, the second-year player out of USC, to be a breakout player at tackle. If he's able to make those significant strides in this game, it just further strengthens a rebuilt offensive line unit for Gang Green. Defensively, John Franklin Myers will be my breakout player. Now, he's not a new player in the NFL. This is his 4th season, but this is his first year with the New York Jets. I love his versatility up front. I think he has a really good chance to make an impact along that defensive line for New York. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW and his latest release, Mr. Hunter. You can find him on Spotify. Just search IW Mr. Hunter. He's also available on iTunes as well, and follow on Instagram at Do You Music. Nesby Phipps, Art, Life, Entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. The Academy of Broadcast Media, located in Hackensack, New Jersey. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. A reason for optimism for the Jets, you look at that front seven. I think they could excel this upcoming season. You expect growth from Quinnen Williams and the rest of that young core of defensive linemen that they have, along with the health at the second level with those inside linebackers, along with what they've added on the outside. I think this front seven could be much better in 2020. Another reason would be an offense that's, to me, low-key underrated. You expect a better year from Le'Veon Bell. Sam Darnold being out there for a full 16-game season should show improvement. And on the perimeter, we talked about Jamison Crowder. We talked about their tight end position. They quietly have done a lot up front offensively, so their offense could be better this season, their second year under Adam Gase. A big cause for concern would be if that offensive line doesn't gel together. I know that was a question I had about the Buffalo Bills and their offensive line entering last season. They proved me wrong. They were able to gel and became a strength to that side of the ball. If the Jets, because of what we were seeing now with COVID-19, not having a minicamp, OTAs, all of those things, if that offensive line doesn't gel, it could be more of the same issues in 2020 that we saw last season. Another cause for concern would be if their offense still sputters. Even if everybody's out there healthy 100% and they still can't figure things out and still finish within the bottom third of the league offensively, that could be a problem for their chances of success in terms of winning in 2020. And if that defensive back play doesn't improve, last year, that was another question mark for the Jets out there on the corners. Safety play, they're fine, but if they can't improve on the corners or those guys don't take that step forward this year, it'll be more of the same for Gang Green. The road to the Super Bowl for the New York Jets goes as follows. Number one, Darnold takes that next step in year 3. He cuts down on the turnovers, increases that touchdown production, and also stays out there for a full 16-game season. If he can do those things, this Jets team can go far. Also, if the run game becomes top 10, they'll definitely go far. They have a top 10 tailback in Le'Veon Bell. If the expected changes in year 2 in New York takes place, then the run game and Darnold should help this offense take flight. And the pass rush has to terrorize quarterbacks. They have to get better at sacking the quarterbacks. 23rd in the NFL last season. That has to get into the top 15, top 10. If they're able to do all of these things, I think the Jets can find themselves playing bonus football in the playoffs, hopefully getting to Tampa Bay. I have the Jets finishing 4th in the AFC East. This is going to be a very strong defensive football team. I do think you'll see offensively them improve a little bit, more so in the run game I'm still kind of concerned about the passing game right now. I think the run game and their defense will help keep them competitive, even win a few games for them. But if that passing game can truly take flight, then this team will compete for that final 7th playoff spot this year. But right now, I do have them 4th in the AFC East. So that's a wrap for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast. And keep it locked here on the Football Game Plan YouTube channel, where we're going to have a ton of Jets-related content coming down the pike, from our starting lineup videos, which talks about the Jets fantasy football options, our best bets, which we will take a look at some of the prop bets for the Jets heading into the season, and our NFL All 22 show, where we go into the film room and break down the Jets more in depth.
EU tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.